I'm with John Phillips, great attorney from Florida, and we're going to talk about race and juries and how it impacts verdicts. John, do you think race had anything to do with O.J. Simpson being found not guilty?
If the statistics fit, you must acquit. I mean, that was Johnny Cochran's jury, that was his trial, and clearly race had something to do with it.
So you believe that? Okay, fantastic. Smoking gun, ladies and gentlemen, take a look. Yes, it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. Jodi Arias thinks she's not getting the death penalty and not going away to prison for the rest of her life. She thinks she's getting out.
Well, that's a smoking gun, but I think the defense wants to put some water over the smoke. Do you not?
Yeah, you know, that's a Monopoly game piece. And this isn't a game. Look, this is a woman on trial for her life. The last time a woman got the death penalty in Arizona was in 1930. Her name was Eva Dugan. Very similar to Jodi. Guess what happened? She got hung, something went wrong, her head came off. This is the penalty that Jodi's facing. But that's the issue. She's in jail 23 hours a day, 2 hours she's a glorified cage animal in a 12-by-7 cell with no contact to others. This isn't a game.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from the prosecution. You've heard.
Have a conversation with your girlfriend in front of the little kid.
Here's what Zimmerman was doing, watching him, just watching him. And of course he has a right to run.
Trayvon Martin here during that time period, those 2 minutes?
Hiding for his life. You know, he had somebody stalk and get out of it.
And I think wait a minute. He should have been going home. What is that? He should have been going home.
George Zimmerman should have been going home.
George Zimmerman should have been out there stalking him with a gun.
Well, so why did the same logic apply to Trayvon?
All right, two sides to this argument, Ryan.
Yeah, and passion on both sides, just like you'll see in this courtroom. So our jury's been taking notes.
Go to John Phillips. He's an attorney. He's outside the courthouse down in Sanford, Florida. He's been on After Dark many times. He represents the family of Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis is another young man who was unarmed, shot and killed. And that trial is set to take place in just a couple months. The prosecutors who will be handling that, the same prosecutors who handled this case. John Phillips, what are you thinking right now at this moment in light of this not guilty verdict in the courthouse behind you?
I don't know what to think, Vinny. You know, it's the first text message I get is from, you know, somebody who similarly lost their child, and they're doubting the justice process. And I have to explain, look, our case is different. We've got first-degree murder. Jordan didn't ruffle a feather on Michael Dunn's head, and I'm trying to explain to her that my faith in the Sixth Amendment and the justice process she needs to have as well. And meanwhile, we're all on the verge of tears because, like this family or not, like Trayvon or Sabrina or Tracy, they lost their son. And we've come to know them in trying to battle Stand Your Ground and try to battle some of these gun laws. And that's the problem. I mean, it's so clear if you really take a look. We can't have somebody be able to exert their own will through a firearm. We can't. We can't have a situation where this is okay. And so I'm just beside myself, Vinny.
Let me go to John Phillips, who's also outside the courthouse down in Sanford, Florida. And John, George Zimmerman, what do you think he becomes the symbol of? I mean, does it become a symbol for gun rights, self-defense, wrongful prosecution? What do you think people are going to associate George Zimmerman with down the road here?
His legal defense was largely supported by gun owners. That legal defense fund had a lot of gun owners contribute to it. And again, it goes back to the question you asked Ryan and Linda, which one is remembered? And real quick, I tell the story about Jordan Davis and meeting Jordan Davis and how it's a butterfly effect and how the wings of a butterfly can cause a ripple and touch one person who can touch another. And Trayvon Martin and Ben Crump and Natalie Jackson had that ripple going before Jordan Davis was killed, and there are going to be other kids that are killed, but that ripple needs to affect this nation. We need to heal, and we need to come together.
Civil rights groups in the United States have expressed dismay after a Hispanic neighborhood watch volunteer was found not guilty of murdering an unarmed black teenager in Florida last year.
Well, George Zimmerman was acquitted of all charges relating to Trayvon Martin's death. The case, though, has sparked a fierce debate in the US about racial profiling. Well, joining us from Jacksonville in Florida is John Phillips, who is a lawyer and a legal commentator and was outside the court for the verdict. A very good morning to you. You are involved, aren't you, with a similar case that is also attracting headlines. What did you make, then, of this verdict?
My father always used to say, if you don't start any mess, there won't be any. And that's what this case was all about. It was about neighborhood watch volunteer in a country where there are 300 million people, but about 300 million guns. And he took a gun to a situation. There was a confrontation. A kid wound up dead, profiled him that he was a burglar, and all he had was a pack of candy and a soda. The trial was had. They went for... There's 3 different classifications of murder. They went for a pretty high classification, didn't prove it, and now the killer walks.
From NBC News, this is Today with Matt Lauer and Savannah Guthrie.
Along with her husband Chris and their 2 children, Hannah and Anthony, John Phillips is the family's attorney. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. Good morning. John, what legal outcome would you like to see?
First of all, thanks for having the family. This is a very amazing and remarkable family, and I'm honored to represent them. There's accountability issues, civil, traffic. If you and I had been in an incident like this, we certainly would have been charged. There's going to be a lawsuit that results. The issue here is anytime a county entity is involved, there are a lot of hurdles, and a county or any government entity should be just as accountable as you and I, but there's a lawsuit pending.
The most important thing here is that you survived this and you're doing well, and we wish you continued success with your recovery.
Well, thank you.
Good for you, Aaron. Folks, nice to have you.
In Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
A woman run over by a truck in Daytona Beach, Florida, has been awarded $2.6 million in damages. Erin Joint was on vacation with her family, and she was laying on the beach sunbathing when the lifeguard's truck rolled over her. This was back in 2011.
Joining us now, Jordan Davis's mother and father, Lucia McBath and Ron Davis, along with their attorney, John Phillips. Good morning to you all. Good morning. Good to have you here. I hope that you know that you remain in the thoughts and prayers of many. I want to ask you about the state attorney who has come under fire for the way the case was presented. Would you have done anything differently? Should anything have been done differently in the state's case?
It was a well-presented case. They did a good job, but we're in a situation in America where the young black boy doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. People can still lock their doors when they walk by, and it's okay. And the white businessman gets the benefit of the doubt. And so when you have a situation where the white businessman's the guy that does wrong, and the African-American boy was amazingly raised by these wonderful parents, they needed to put in a little bit more character evidence, and I realize it's a dicey situation.
A medical horror story you have to see to believe. A dentist accused of performing unnecessary and painful procedures on children and making himself millions of dollars doing it.
They're now pursuing a medical malpractice suit represented by attorney John Phillips. Phillips says he also represents dozens of Dr. Schneider's former patients. Most of them rely on Medicaid for health insurance.
Medicaid paid him per tooth. So can I cap a tooth twice? Yes. Can I then pull it? Yes. Can I then successfully obtain benefits for all 3? Absolutely.
Time for today's Legal Insanity. That's when my dream team and I break down the bizarre legal stories of the day. That's an understatement. First up, you know you hate it when a dog poops in your yard, but it's much worse when a man does. People in Houston, not making this up, are trying to catch this guy. He's doing his business in people's yards. All right, Dream Team, should the guy who's going number 2 be made public enemy number 1? That's the Dream Team. Lonnie Coombs we have here. We, of course, Mike Brooks and John Phillips. John Phillips, you agree?
Couldn't agree more. You know, first of all, I'm glad I didn't have to touch that serial pooper. But back to this one, you know, seriously, they're looking at major felony time. That's bad news.
And they should be looking at time. You don't do this.
She is on the phone. Also, John Phillips. He's been here before. He's an attorney and a dad. And John, I'll start with you. You say that you've changed since you had a little boy. How so?
18 months ago, we had our own, and you just, that's a part of the family. He's been going to restaurants because we both work since he was probably 6 weeks old. And it's just a part of it. We tip extra. We take care of him. He's a good kid. Now, you know, does the owner have a right to exclude him? There's no constitutional protection. That's ridiculous. But come on, let's lighten up and treat each other and mothers and dads all equally.
So if you were with your wife and you left your son at home and there was a 4-year-old John, let's say, running around, would it bother you?
I'd know to have a reasonable conversation and make a correction. I mean, you say, hey, all right, you know, your kid's being sloppy, please, you know, you're going to have to pay for, you know, a rental fee for cleanup fee or something. Right. You know, but just to say, look, all kids are bad. You know, really?
Yeah, kids are kids, and as a parent, you kind of just understand that they are. If they want to run around, they usually do. I think.
A third of the adults in some places we go eat are worse than my little Bennett, and that's you know, they're burping, they're drunk. Yeah. You know, I mean, come on, are we going to legislate them? You know, you can only have 3 drinks. I mean, I'll have sloppy meatballs dribbling down my chest and have a much worse mess than that.
I'm not going to dinner with you.
I know. I was thinking.
John, you're not running around the restaurant crazy with nobody telling you that it's not okay to do that.
You haven't seen me at Mojo's in Jacksonville. Absolutely, I am.
Maybe before he had a baby. All right, Jill and John, thanks so much. Great talking to you both. And well, Americans don't always like it when their favorite ladies, Ryan, as you know, change their hair. Remember when Michelle Obama got bangs? Ryan, you remember.
I do. What a day that was. John and I were saying, wonderful bangs, Michelle, wonderful.
And Jennifer Aniston, anytime she even trims her hair, makes headlines. And Anne Hathaway, she looks great too, but she gets people talking when she does anything different with her hair. John, what do you think?
She bangs, isn't that the song? Did I just say that?
Well said.
You got to change up. If you're not changing up, I mean, I don't know any person out there who doesn't want to change up every once in a while.
Sometimes I'll go beard, no beard.
That's right.
You know.
He lives on the edge.
Someday I'll come in without the goatee. Shock everybody.
It's crazy go nuts here. All right, guys, thanks.
All right.